Greetings, Engagement Review Team for the IBN Roshd Educational Company. This is David Barnett, and I'm going to spend just a few minutes with you talking about the upcoming external review and giving you some information that will be helpful. First of all, the purpose of this short video is to prepare you for the review that is upcoming. We'll talk a little bit about the workspace and the system itself, and but we'll spend a significant amount of time also talking about the schedule. You see a Q&A time there. That's actually going to be on Thursday, March the 6th at 8 a.m. Eastern U.S. time. We'll talk more about that in just a few minutes as well. Make sure before you come that you have completed all of the paperwork with Cognia and that you have completed all the required training as well. Notice the groups and how they're divided into leadership in each group. First of all, in Group A, Dr. Ashraf will be the lead in the leadership group. May Isa will be the lead in the learning group, and Salah will be the lead in the resources group. So I want you to notice two different divisions here. First of all, Group A, the membership, it's also called the leadership group. Group B, notice the membership and the learning group. And Group C, resources group, and notice the membership there. One of the things that we expect from IBN Roshd is for them to give us good evidence showing authentic and a real purpose on the continuous improvement process in which they're on. Perhaps one of the most important parts of this whole process has already been completed, and that's the self-evaluation or the self-study that they have done. They will submit the appropriate assurances report, and of course it says here host an accreditation and engagement review. Actually, the hosting will be done strictly by virtual, and then whatever is in the report that we generate, they'll need to respond to that. Make sure that you are very familiar with the leadership domain, the learning domain, the resources domain, the DAT, the Diagnostic Analysis Tool, and the I3 rubric. So, whenever you begin looking at the artifacts, see how the artifacts link to the specifics of each of the standards. See how the artifact supports each of the standards. Realize that some artifacts, in fact many artifacts, really go with more than one standard, so keep that in mind. There may be questions that will be generated as a result of your review. Write those questions down and make sure that you get those questions answered before the review is completed. If there's evidence that's lacking and that you still need, let me know what that is, and I will be asking for additional evidence. Each individual team member will not ask for additional evidence. All of the requests for additional evidence will be done through me. So I appreciate you paying attention to that. Now, the link, and I will put these links in the email that I'm going to send to you, but the link for the DAT you can see is here. And so if you go to this link, what do you see? Well, on standard 1.1, you see that at the top that the standard is listed, and then each of the levels, the I3 rubric, you have the engagement, the implementation, the results, sustainability, and embeddedness. When you're jotting your findings down, just make sure that you put enough there that you know what it means, and I would know what it means. It says, for example, in engagement, the institution provides opportunities for representative internal and external stakeholder groups to build commitment to the institution's purpose and statement. So if you write something like our bullet found evidence to support this, That's not very helpful. What you would need to say is found meetings of minutes on from January of 2020 or policy dealing with or some actual evidence. Uh, so be specific and when you're including the evidence so that when we cite that in the report, it would be obvious to anyone who reads that what evidence we're using to make the decision that we do. The I3 rating, you don't really need to worry about that right now. I mean, if you want to rate those, you can, but we're going to be doing that in a little bit more planned and strategic way during the process. The system has provided us a great deal of evidence. Each of these links, again, will be provided to you, but the first link is the system evidence. That's the evidence that IBN Roshd is using to support their claims for the variety of support for each of the standards. The second link is a short movie, about 25 minutes, and it shows the learning environment in their system. You'll want to make sure that you watch this. This very well done video, and gives us a flavor of what it's like in their classrooms. And finally, the individual school evidence. Of course, our focus is on the system itself. However, we do need to pay attention to what the schools are doing and how the system is supporting the schools in being successful. I would especially encourage you to look at the evidence for the schools in which you ask questions, and we'll be talking about those divisions here in just a minute. So on the first link, if you click on the first link, this is what you'll see. It opens up a Google Drive, and you can see the first folder there is worksheet evidences. Then if you open up that folder, you'll see that it's divided into domains, and then if you open up each of those folders, you'll see that it's divided into the standards, and so it's very specific. And on each of the standards, they have many times provided evidence for each of the level of the I3 rubric, implementation, engagement, and so forth and so forth. It's not going to be possible for you to read every word. However, you should review each of the pieces of evidence that is in your domain, because there are several places that we might need to refer of how did we get this particular rating. The second link I mentioned is a movie showing the learning environment. Please do take 20 or 30 minutes to watch that movie. And then the last link, as I've mentioned, is a link to evidence for each individual school. Once you start asking questions in the school, it will be good if you have paid some attention to the evidence that your particular school has provided. There will be an optional team meeting to clarify responded questions. That's going to be on Thursday, March the 3rd, beginning at 8 a.m. Again, this link will be provided in the email that I send to you in just a few minutes. So no questions now, but we'll provide an opportunity for you to do that in a little bit. So now we're going to look at the schedule. Okay, you can see that our first meeting is listed here on the schedule. Is one I just mentioned. It's going to be Thursday. Again, this is an optional meeting because many of you have done this many times before. But if you If you still need to have some questions or just need a refresher, I'll be available, and we'll be talking about more specificity in the of the review. Notice group A, B, and C. It's very important for you to notice and to note which group you're in, because again, here in just a few minutes you're going to see that the interviews and so forth are divided into 3 groups. So on March the 6th, by the way, the times listed here are for Riyadh time, Saudi Arabia time. So when it says 8 a.m., that's 8 a.m. in Riyadh. You can see that this will be done. Excuse me. This will be done via the virtually, and so the links will be provided. Notice at 9 a.m. we divided into 3 different groups, and so Group C, you see who you'll be interviewing. Group B, you see who you'll be interviewing, and then Group A, you see who you will be interviewing. Excuse me so much. Then at 10 o'clock, we have even more interviews. And again, you can see who will be, which group will be interviewing the particular people. Now, beginning at 11, May and Salah and Dr. Ashraf will be contacting schools and working the rest of the day with the school-based people. They have 11 schools, and so in order to interact with all 11 schools, they needed to get 3 done on this day, and then 4 on each of the 2 subsequent days. Yeah, so again, everyone except Salah, Dr. Ashraf, and May will be engaged in the focus interviews that involve central office personnel, and then we will be dividing into smaller groups. I understand that in some cases you may be an individual working alone, and so if your group is only 2 people, I think that's only the learning group, and so Dan, that would be you. But I believe that you could probably handle interviewing people by yourself. I will provide some questions for you on that as we get closer to the actual review. And so the people who are working in the central office will continue to do focus groups, and then at 2:30, Dr. Kim and I will interview the Chief Financial Officer and look at the books and the financial condition of the organization. As I said earlier, May and Salah and Dr. Ashraf will be working and interviewing in schools. You can see the 3 schools that are identified there, and so May and Dr. Ashraf and Salah ask you to select one of those schools, and then each of you will be doing the same thing from 11 to 11:45. Each of you will be interviewing students. Of course, the students will be at different schools. From 11:50 to 12:35, you'll be interviewing parents. 12:40 to 1:35, the school's academic leaders. And then from 1:40 to 2:25, interviewing teachers. And then 2:30 to 3:15, working with the principal. Now, I have working lunch there, but that's probably too late for lunch. I had actually had the principals earlier, and they asked if we could make the principal interview a little bit later. But you will want to try to find a place to kind of keep a sandwich close by. Okay, and then at approximately 4 o'clock, and that time may be adjusted, we'll have our first team deliberations after actually doing some face-to-face interviewing and with the IBN Roshd group. On day 2, it's going to be every one of us is going to be doing pretty much the same thing. I see that I may have some extra team members in there that are no longer with us, but um, everyone will be interviewing. We'll have 4 schools on day 2, and we'll have 4 schools on day 3. And you see, we start at 7:30 with the link that's been provided there by interviewing teachers, and then at 8:20 we interview parents. At 9:10 interview with academic teachers. 10:30 to 11:15 with students, and it looks like there's a significant break there, which is fine. And so at 2:30, then there's interview school leadership, and then of course we'll have team deliberations following those last group of interviews. Day 3 is exactly like day 2, except different schools. So I'm not going to go through each of those things again. Let's take a look at day 4. Day 4 is kind of a catch-all for some folks maybe that we didn't have a chance to interview earlier. From 7:30 to 11. Yeah, obviously, it's not going to take 3.5 hours to do that. But for people that we've not had a chance to talk with before, we'll interview those people at that time. Once those interviews are conducted, we'll have team deliberations, and then on day 5, excuse me, this cough is not helpful. On day 5, we'll actually do the presentation of the conclusions. So that pretty much constitutes the schedule. Of course, during that time in our deliberations that occur in the evening, we will be looking for themes and ideas, or what really exemplifies or shows the personalities of IBN Roshd. So if you have any questions, of course, again, let me know. And in the meantime, I will look forward to seeing some of you on the 3rd of March at 8 a.m. Hope to look forward to working with each of you, and you be sure and let me know what questions you might have.